If people don't feel your words, they won't follow your voice. That single fact changes everything about how we communicate. Most individuals talk to be heard, leaders speak to be remembered. The key distinction isn't in how loud you are, it's in precision. Ours clarity, ours strength, and ours timing. If your voice isn't respected, your ideas won't matter. If your words lack substance, your presence won't guide anyone. This audiobook is your guide to developing a voice that earns respect without needing to yell. A voice that sparks action without needing to impress. A voice that connects with people's minds and influences their choices. You don't need complicated words. You need powerful ones. You don't need to speak more. You need to speak better. In this chapter-by-chapter guide, you'll discover how to communicate like someone worth listening to. You'll gain real practical and direct skills that you can apply immediately in daily conversations, stressful situations, and leadership roles. This is for those who want to lead, not at some point in the future, but right now. If your words don't lead, nothing else will. It all starts here. Chapter 1. Take ownership of every word you say with complete confidence. That is where leadership begins. If you speak and your words lack importance, then you are simply creating noise, and noise does not move people. Noise does not change minds. Noise does not build trust. But when you speak with assurance, when you speak as if every single word matters, people notice. They listen, they lean in, and most importantly, they remember. Confidence doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean showing off. It means you stand by your words. It means you genuinely believe what you are saying. And if you don't believe what you're saying, why should anyone else? Confidence begins when you stop second guessing yourself and start taking full responsibility for every word that comes out of your mouth. Most people speak with hesitation. They're not completely sure. They throw out phrases like, I believe, maybe, I guess, or I'm not certain, and every time they do that, they weaken their message, they lose their audience. Because the simple truth is nobody follows someone who sounds uncertain, nobody buys into a message that sounds weak, and nobody gets inspired by someone who doesn't believe in their own voice. If you want to talk like a leader, you need to decide that your words have significance. You need to mean what you say what you mean, and take complete ownership of it. When you speak, people need to feel that you are serious. They need to feel that you are solid. That what you're saying is not just empty talk. It is who you are. It is what you represent. So, how do you achieve that? You start by paying attention to the words you use every day. Most people speak out of habit. They talk just for the sake of talking. But a leader speaks with purpose. You don't waste your words. You don't ramble. You don't weaken your points. You speak directly. You speak authentically. And you speak with the kind of presence that says, I have earned the right to be listened to. Now, confidence in your words also comes from a preparation. If you don't know what you're talking about, your voice will tremble. Your message will fall apart. That's why leaders prepare. They think. They reflect. They get clear, so that when the moment arrives to speak, they're not making it up as they go. They have already done the work. They have already thought through what is important. And that's why their words have power, because those words have already been tested in their own life. Confidence also grows when your words and your actions are in alignment. If you say one thing and do another, people will see through it, and eventually you'll start doubting yourself too. You can't talk like a leader if you're not living like one, because people listen more to your example than your explanations. They listen more to how you live than to what you say. When your behavior supports your words, then you don't have to try so hard to sound confident. You become confident because you've earned it. And one more thing, stop apologizing for your truth. Stop reducing your message to make other people comfortable. Leaders do not speak to be liked. They speak to be clear. They speak to lead. If you're always concerned about what people think, you'll never say anything worth listening to. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be aggressive, but you do have to be as firm. You do have to be as authentic. And that means you own your truth, even if not everyone agrees with it. When you enter a room and speak, the room should feel it. Not because you are loud, but because you are solid. You are steady, and people can sense that you are not just guessing your way through life. You have made decisions. You have established beliefs. You have tested ideas, and now you speak from as experience, not just opinion. That is what gives your words weight. It also means you stop using weak language to protect your ego. Eliminate the filler words. Eliminate the uncertainty. If you believe in something, say it. If you stand for something, speak it. If something is not right, call it out. Too many people weaken their voice trying to sound nice. But leadership isn't about sounding nice. It's about speaking what matters, even when it is uncomfortable. Confidence in your words also comes from being okay with silence. Weak speakers rush to fill every pause. They are afraid of quiet. But strong communicators know that silence can be powerful. You say something important, then you pause. You give people time to hear it, to feel it, to let it sink in. You don't rush. You don't beg for approval. You say what needs to be said, and then you wait. And that silence speaks just as loudly as your words. Now, here is something you should always remember. Your voice is your tool, not your crutch. You don't talk to prove yourself. You don't speak to look intelligent. You speak to serve a purpose. You speak to guide people towards something better, and when you understand that your voice changes, your tone shifts. You stop performing. You start leading, because now you are not talking to impress. You are talking to impact. Speaking like a leader isn't about using big words. It's not about having perfect grammar. It's not about showing off your vocabulary. It's about being as clear. It's about being as certain. It's about being as authentic. People follow that. People respond to that. Because in a world full of noise, authentic voices stand out. So if you want to talk like a leader, the first thing you must do is this: own every single word you say. Stop outsourcing your voice. Stop doubting your message. Speak with your chest. Speak from your gut. Speak like you truly mean it. And every time you do, your confidence grows. Your presence grows. Your leadership grows. Because once you own your words, you start owning your space. You show up in a different way. You carry yourself with a kind of quiet power. People can see it in your face. They can hear it in your tone. They can feel it in your presence. You're no longer trying to sound like a leader. You are one. And that changes everything. Chapter 2. Speak clearly so no one misunderstands your message. That is one of the most crucial habits you can develop if you want to guide people, influence them, or even just be taken seriously in your daily life. Clear speaking is not about being fancy. It's not about using complicated words. It's not about sounding impressive. It's about being understood. And when people understand you, they trust you. When they trust you, they listen. When they listen, things start to happen. But if people can't understand what you're saying, then it doesn't matter how good your ideas are. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how well-intentioned you are. If your words don't land, you lose the moment. You lose the connection. You lose respect. And worst of all, people start filling in the blanks. They start guessing what you meant. And guess what? People rarely guess in your favor. That's why clarity is everything. If people don't hear you clearly, they will misunderstand you. And once your message gets lost, so does your influence. Talking like a leader means you take full responsibility for making your message clear. You don't just dump information on people and expect them to figure it out. You think before you speak. You slow down. You remove all the unnecessary fluff. You stop trying to sound smart and focus on being just understood. That's how strong communication begins. Most people never learn this. They talk too fast. They ramble. They assume others know what they mean. They skip steps in their explanation. And they leave a trail of confusion everywhere they go. Then they wonder why people don't follow them, why people don't trust them, why their team is disorganized. The answer is simple. Unclear words create unclear minds. If people are confused after you speak, that is not their fault. It is yours. So what does clear speaking really look like? It starts with knowing what you want to say before you say it. If your thoughts are scattered, your words will be scattered. You have to think through your ideas. Be specific. Don't speak in vague terms. Say exactly what you mean. If you're asking someone to do something, say it in a single, straight sentence. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to sound impressive. Just be authentic and direct. Clarity also means removing all the extra words that weaken your point. If you can say it in 5 words, don't use 15. If your message gets lost in too much talking, people tune out. They stop listening. They get overwhelmed. And once people stop listening, you lose their attention. Leaders don't waste attention. They get to the point and they stay on point. Speaking clearly means using words that people actually understand. Don't try to sound intelligent by using technical language. Speak their language. Meet them where they are. If you're giving instructions to your team, explain it in a way that makes sense to them. If you're teaching someone something new, break it down simply, not because they aren't smart, but because your job is to connect, not confuse. One of the best things you can do to speak clearly is to slow down. When you speak too fast, your words lose power. Your sentences run together. People miss key parts. Slowing down shows control. It shows thoughtfulness. And it gives people time to process what you're saying. Fast talking often comes from insecurity. People think they need to rush through their ideas to sound sharp, but leaders don't rush. They pause. They let their words settle. That pause makes people lean in. That pause adds weight to your message. You also need to be aware of your tone. Your tone carries meaning that your words alone cannot. You can say the right words with the wrong tone, and people will still take it the wrong way. Or you can say something simple with a strong tone, and it will hit hard, as a tone is your attitude made audible. If your tone is all over the place, too flat, too angry, too unsure, your message loses clarity. People won't know what to take seriously and what to ignore. That's why you train your tone to match your message. If you're serious, sound serious. If you're excited, sound excited. Don't send mixed signals. Another reason people fail to speak clearly is they get caught up trying to say everything at once. You don't need to tell the whole story in one breath. You don't need to explain every single detail all at once. Pick your main point and build around it. Stick to one idea at a time. Make it easy for people to follow. Give them time to absorb what you're saying. A simplicity isn't weakness, it's strength. If you can explain a big idea in a small number of words, that's leadership. Sometimes speaking clearly means repeating your main point. Not 5 times, just once. And not because you're unsure, but because people need time to grasp what matters. You say it clearly, you pause. You say it again with certainty. Then you move forward. Not in circles, not in loops, straight ahead. You also need to pay attention to how people react when you talk. Watch their eyes. Watch their faces. Are they confused? Are they distracted? Are they locked in? Your words should pull people in. If they're pulling away, adjust. Real leaders pay attention to feedback in real time. They clarify when needed. They ask, "Does that make sense?" Not as a filler, but as a genuine check. And if the answer is no, they don't get defensive. They explain again in a better way. And here's something most people overlook: your body language. Your message isn't just your words. It's your posture. It's your face. It's your hands. It's your presence. If your words say one thing and your body says something else, people will believe your body. That means standing up straight. That means facing the person. That means showing that you are present, not distracted. It all contributes to your clarity. Clear speaking is also built through practice. You don't wait for the big moments to develop this skill. You train it daily. You practice it in regular conversations. You work on getting to the point. You work on using better words. You work on asking better questions. You improve how you explain your ideas. That's how leaders sharpen their message, not just through big speeches, but through everyday conversations done right. A clarity is earned. It's a skill. It's a decision. Every time you open your mouth, you have the opportunity to build trust or break it. You have the chance to guide people or confuse them. And you have the responsibility to speak in a way that makes your message easy to understand. So, stop hiding behind complicated language. Stop hoping people will figure out what you meant. Stop rushing your words, hoping they will land. Make a new decision today. When you speak, you will speak clearly. You will speak with purpose. You will speak so nobody leaves confused about who you are and what you stand for. Speak like your words matter, because they do. Speak like someone who knows where they are going. Speak like someone who has done the work and earned the right to be heard. That's how a leader talks. That's how a leader connects. That's how a leader builds something real. And that's the kind of person people choose to follow, someone who makes their message clear every single time. Chapter 3. Control your voice before you try to lead. That is not a suggestion, it is a requirement. Because your voice is more than just sound. It is your presence. It is your attitude. It is your energy. And if your voice is not steady, your leadership will never be trusted. You can have the best intentions, a brilliant mind, and strong values, but if your voice shakes, if it wavers, if it sounds unsure or scattered, people will hesitate to follow you. Why? Because people don't just listen to what you say, they listen to how you say it. You see, leadership begins with how you carry yourself, and your voice is a direct reflection of your inner world. If you're nervous, people hear it. If you're angry, people hear it. If you're unsure, people hear it. You cannot hide that. And the more emotional noise that lives inside you, the harder it becomes to speak with strength and direction. That's why before you step into a leadership role, before you try to influence anyone, you have to learn to control your own tone, your volume, your rhythm, and your emotional state. A leader does not just talk, they command attention. And not by being loud, not by talking over others, but by using a steady, calm, grounded voice that tells people, I am not here to impress you, I am here to guide you. That's the difference. Loud people often want to be noticed. Grounded leaders want to be understood. There is a big difference between the two. When your voice is under control, people feel safe around you. They feel like you are not going to snap. You are not going to panic. You are not going to fly off into emotion. You are steady. And that steadiness creates trust. You cannot lead if your voice is trembling every time you speak up. You cannot lead if your tone changes with your mood. People get tired of following voices they can't predict. That unpredictability creates anxiety. And leadership is not about making people feel anxious. It's about giving them direction they can count on. So, how do you control your voice? You begin by becoming aware of it. Most people don't even notice how they sound. They have never listened to their tone. They have never recorded themselves. They don't know if they speak too fast, too soft, too harsh, or too flat. That's the first step, self-awareness. Take the time to truly hear yourself. Are you clear? Are you firm? Do you sound like someone who believes what they are saying? Or do you sound like someone hoping to be accepted? The more you know how you sound, the more you can take control of it. You start choosing your tone instead of letting your emotions choose it for you. If you're frustrated, you don't raise your voice. You stay calm and address the issue directly. If you're excited, you don't speed up and lose people. You hold the energy but stay steady. Leadership demands that you show emotional control, and your voice is where people see it first. Another way to gain control is through breathing. Most people underestimate how important breathing is when you speak. Shallow breathing leads to fast talking, nervous energy, and a shaky delivery. But when you slow your breath down, your voice naturally becomes stronger and deeper. You don't have to push it. It settles. It becomes deliberate, and people sense that control. Before every important conversation, every meeting, every decision, you center yourself. You breathe. You slow everything down internally, and then you speak. Control also means knowing when not to speak. A powerful voice isn't just about what you say, it's about what you hold back. If you speak on impulse, you'll say things you regret. You'll create damage that takes a long time to repair. But if you train yourself to pause, to think, to listen, you'll speak fewer words, but they'll carry more weight. And that's what leadership communication is all about: fewer words, more meaning. Think about the leaders you respect most. They didn't rush through their words. They didn't fumble. They didn't ramble on. They spoke with purpose. Every sentence had a job to do. Every word carried meaning. They weren't trying to sound important. They were as grounded. That's what gave their voice authority. And that kind of authority doesn't come from titles. It doesn't come from volume. It comes from inner strength. It comes from discipline, and that discipline must be developed. You practice your voice like any other skill. You train it. You rehearse, not to fake it, but to refine it. If you speak in public, practice it beforehand. Listen to yourself. Adjust. If you're leading a team, don't just speak off the top of your head. Prepare your tone, your delivery, your pacing. Strong leaders don't rely on chance when it comes to communication. They take it seriously because they know every word, every tone, every pause can either build or break what they're trying to lead. Also, understand that your voice is not just used in big moments. It matters in small conversations, in one-on-ones, in giving feedback, in dealing with conflict. Every moment you speak, people are watching. They're asking themselves, can I trust this person? Do they mean what they say? Are they in control or are they unstable? That trust is built or destroyed based on how well you have mastered your tone, your message, and your energy. And energy is everything. If your voice lacks energy, people won't feel your words. You can't motivate people with a dead tone. You can't inspire with a flat delivery. You don't need to be loud, but you do need to be alive. Your voice needs to carry belief. It needs to show that you care. You need to be fully present in your words. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how good your ideas are. They'll fall flat. Leadership also means managing your emotional triggers. When things go wrong, when people push your buttons, when situations get intense, you must be able to hold your ground without your voice cracking or rising. If your voice changes every time you're under pressure, people lose trust in your stability. They may respect your knowledge, but they'll hesitate to follow you when it truly counts. Control means staying calm even when things are falling apart. That calmness is what people remember. It's what helps others stay steady too. When your voice is trained, your leadership becomes sharper. You speak with focus. You lead with presence. You guide with strength. And people feel it. They know they're in the presence of someone who isn't just talking to be heard. They're talking because they have something worth hearing. So take your voice seriously, not for performance, but for influence. Train it daily. Reflect on it. Record yourself. Ask for honest feedback. Adjust your tone until it reflects strength and clarity. Practice speaking under pressure. Practice holding your ground without shouting. Build the kind of voice that calms people, moves people, and earns respect without ever needing to demand it. Because before anyone will follow you, they will first listen to you. And before they listen to you, they will judge your voice. Not your accent, not your vocabulary, but the as presence, the as energy, and the as control behind it. When your voice reflects discipline, purpose, and steadiness, people feel safe. They feel confident, and they begin to trust your leadership. Not because you told them to, but because your voice proved it. That's how you lead. That's where leadership begins. Before you ask others to follow, make sure your voice is ready to guide. Not sometimes, not when you feel like it. Every time, in every room, in every moment. Because once your voice is steady, your leadership starts to become real. Chapter 4. Say things that actually move people to act. That is what leadership communication is truly about. It's not just about talking. It's not about sounding smart. It's about speaking in a way that creates a movement. A leader's words don't just fill time. They change minds. They wake people up. They make someone stop what they are doing and think differently. They make someone take a step they have been avoiding. When you speak as a leader, your words need to have power. Not emotional hype, but practical push. Your words should lead to as action. Otherwise, you're just another voice in the background. People hear a lot every day. They are flooded with opinions, distractions, instructions, and advice, but most of it doesn't move them. It passes through and disappears. What they remember is what made them feel something strong enough to shift them out of comfort and into motion. And that's your job. To say things that wake people up without shouting. To speak in a way that reaches not just their ears but their core. That kind of speaking doesn't come from memorizing lines. It comes from knowing why you're saying what you're saying. It comes from a clarity, from as intention, from as experiency. Before you try to influence others, check your motive. Are you trying to impress or impact? Are you just repeating what you've heard? Or are you speaking from a place that has been tested in real life? People can tell when your words are just information versus when your words are authentic. Authentic words carry pressure. They carry weight. They don't float, they land. And when they land, people move. If you want to move people, speak directly to their pain. Speak to the part of them that is tired of excuses. Speak to the frustration they carry, but never say out loud. Speak to the decision they have been delaying. You don't need to say it perfectly. You just need to say it, truthfully. The truth hits. The truth stings, but it also frees. People are surrounded by soft talk. Everyone is telling them to take it easy, to wait for the right time, to avoid discomfort. That's not what they need from a leader. They need someone to say, "You've waited long enough. You've been hiding. You've been settling, not with judgment, but with clarity. When someone says what needs to be said, people wake up, and you don't move people by over-explaining. Say it once, say it clearly, say it with strength, and let it sit. If you drag your point through 5 examples, you lose the spark. The message gets buried. Say it short, sharp, and straight. And once it's said, don't water it down. People need clarity, not comfort. They need something to hold on to, not something to overthink. If you want them to act, give them something clean and firm. People don't act on vague ideas. They act on solid direction. Another key is their urgency. People don't move without urgency. Your words should carry a sense that something must be done now, not in 6 months. Not when life feels better now. Not with panic, but with pressure. You need to show them what's at stake. If they don't move, what happens? If they stay the same, what do they lose? If they keep waiting, what will it cost them? That's how you trigger action. Not with fear, but with truth. The truth that staying where you are is often the most dangerous decision. And speak in language they understand. Use words they use. If your message sounds too polished, people tune out. They think it's not for them. But if it sounds like it came from someone who has walked where they're walking, who has fought what they're fighting, they'll listen. You don't need perfect grammar or clever sentences. You need to sound as authentic. You need to sound like someone who means what they say and says what they mean. It's not just what you say, it's how much you mean it. If you don't believe your own message, nobody else will. Your tone carries your belief. If you're giving advice you don't live, people will sense it. If you're telling people to be disciplined while living an undisciplined life, your words lose power. But if your words come from your personal standard, they hit hard. That's why your life must match your message. When it does, your words gain strength without needing volume. People are not looking for motivation.